All right, so today we're doing a Rams Madden 25 simulator. I've already done the simulation, so I'm going to let you know how things went down. I thought it was very interesting, and you'll be interested to hear what Madden thinks about this Rams team. Before we dive into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at ELLENBOGEN, including Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And, of course, if you want to check this out in audio format, the link is in the description. You can find me on all your podcast platforms, Jake Ellenbogen Live. And just want to give a shout out to today's sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks. Prize Picks, you can sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. I've played Prize Picks for years, and there is no better feeling of seeing that lineup turn green and seeing that payout hit your account. It's simple to play, choose a player, select more or less for however you think the player will do versus their player projections. Download the app today and use promo code JKBogan to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, guys. So let's get started. The Madden 25 simulation should let you guys know, because I'm not a hypocrite here. No, I do not like Madden. No, I did not buy Madden. This was a 10-hour trial, and I only did the simulation mode. So let's get started. The Rams ended up going 10-7 in the Madden simulation. They finished second in the NFC West. They got off to a great start, and then, it just didn't go over as well as I would have expected. They did have the Rams losing to the Lions in week 1, 28-17. They had the Rams beating the Cardinals 21-13, beating the 49ers 14-7, beating the Bears 17-10, and losing to the Packers 28-24 to wrap up going into the bye at 3-2. They had the Rams coming out of the bye, beating the Raiders 21-17, losing to the Vikings 21-13, beating Seattle 22-19, losing to the Dolphins 27-16. That put them at 5-4 going into the back half stretch of the season. You had them beating the Patriots 34-3. The Eagles losing 24-18, losing to the Saints 22-20, beating the Bills 27-20, beating the 49ers, and sweeping the season series 31-28. They beat the Jets 20-17. They beat the Cardinals 31-21, and they lost to the Seahawks 24-5. Interesting that they ended up with 5. That's a 10-7 record. It got the Rams the 5th spot in the wild card, and they played the division winners of the wild card, the Buccaneers. So they won their division. They beat them 19-17. And I'm not going to get into exactly how this whole thing happened until after we finish this. So they beat them 19-17, and then they lost in the divisional round to the 49ers 35-27. That would be a nightmare. Sweeping the 49ers only to lose to them the third time you face them that year in the playoffs. That would suck. The 49ers did end up losing the Super Bowl, or they lost in the NFC title game to the Cowboys because, shocker, Madden overrates the Cowboys and clearly has a bias towards them. So the Cowboys beat the 49ers, went to the Super Bowl, and beat the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think is hilarious. Ezekiel Elliott was the number 1 running back in the NFC, which is also hilarious. Just the whole thing is really funny. But somewhere buried deep down in all this monstrosity, the Rams actually had a fair shake. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Now, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm very high on the Rams, but this simulation isn't as high on the Rams, and yet still had them making the playoffs. So let's talk about some key points. 10-7, like I mentioned, second in the NFC West, swept the 49ers. Pretty awesome stuff, right? They lost Stafford in the wild card game. I went through and I looked at the box score for each game just to get an idea. And Matthew Stafford was injured in the game against the Buccaneers. Jimmy Garoppolo ended up winning that game for the Rams 19-17. And then Garoppolo started the entire game against the 49ers, and they lost 35-27. I hope to God that doesn't happen, but I guess hand it to virtual Jimmy Garoppolo. He did a nice job holding down the fort. Fell just short of beating the 49ers. How about that revenge? That would have been revenge. Jimmy Garoppolo beating the 49ers to send them to the NFC title game. That would have been something. Some interesting stuff to take away. So Matthew Stafford, the injuries were very limited. Matthew Stafford in the wildcard game. Kyren Williams was also hurt in the wildcard game, was not able to go. So it was Blake Corum and Jimmy Garoppolo starting versus the 49ers. Matthew Stafford threw 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, just under 4,000 yards, a 96 passer rating, and a 64 completion percentage. Kyren Williams ended up with over 1,000 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns, and Cooper Kupp was the only 1,000-yard receiver on the team. He ended up with 1,188 yards, 9 touchdowns. Puka Nacua was in the 800s, and coming in third in receiving was Tutu Atwell with 611 receiving yards. So little interesting. It was the official roster. So I had some, I just wanted to point that out there. That's how they ended up simulating it. Some notable stuff, like when I was going through the box scores, Tutu Atwell had a 3-touchdown game. Blake Corum had 2 touchdowns in the final game. Well, the final win of the season against the Cardinals in the regular season. And then you saw, actually, this is kind of an interesting thing. So Pro Bowlers only ended up being Cooper Kupp, Jared Verse, Cameron Curl, and Josh Carty. Okay, Josh Carty ended up finishing with an 87% field goal kicking rate, which gave him the nod as the NFC Pro Bowler. Cameron Curl led the Rams interceptions with 6 and led the Rams in tackles with 101. Jared Verse had 9.5 sacks, and Cooper Kupp, I already mentioned Cooper Kupp. So, interestingly enough, that doesn't tell the full story. The defensive rookie of the year was actually the guy that you see on the cover of this video, the thumbnail, Braden Fisk. Fisk ended up holding off Jared Verse for defensive rookie of the year. Verse came in second. Fisk came in first. And Fisk, despite the fact that Kobe Turner did not win last year's defensive rookie of the year, Braden Fisk came through in a big way. Turner had a down year, only 5 sacks. Like I mentioned, Jared Verse with 9.5, Byron Young with 8. Braden Fisk led the team with 11.5 sacks. And by the time the season was over, his overall rating was like 83. So he had really developed throughout the season. There were some interesting things that I wanted to point out about this, the roster and everything. I did make it so Tyler Higbee couldn't play until after the 4 weeks. I did make it so Havenstein did not play week 1, came back week 2. I made it so Garoppolo and, of course, Alec Jackson were suspended. Things like that. I tried to make it somewhat realistic. They did not have Josh Wallace, and they did not have Jalen McCullough, and they didn't have Charles Woods on the roster. So that's just Madden. Has to be a better game, and they do stuff like that all the time, so not really shocking. So I wanted to point that out. But all in all, the 21st total offense and the 3rd total defense, the Rams ended up going to the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo having to win a playoff game to move them on to the divisional round against their foe, the 49ers. They ended up getting there despite the fact the offense wasn't really explosive like we would expect. I've said multiple times, I think this will be a top 3 offense in football. I think the defense will be opportunistic. I think they will, turn the ball over at times, force turnovers, create more offensive possessions, but I don't expect them to be a shutdown, lockdown defense. I just don't. Well, they finished 3rd in total defense. As a matter of fact, they were 2nd in pass defense. And that is interesting. And the linebackers ended up being Christian Roseboom, Omar Spates barely got any playing time. Jake Hummel barely got any playing time. And Troy Reeder, came in second there with playing time. But more often than not, I think really Madden had them kind of swapping because of the overalls and everything. Having Troy Reeder at like a 66 overall and Roseboom at a 69, they were putting like Quentin Lake and Cameron Curl in that linebacker spot next to him. So I think that's why Lake ended up leading the team in tackles. But very interesting stuff. Nothing super deep or anything. I mean, obviously it's a video game and it's a simulation game. And if I simulated this 5 times over, the Rams could end up with a bevy of different records, 10-7, 4-13. I mean, it could be all over the place, right? But I thought it was interesting. I only did one. I wanted to make this, somewhat unique and, everything. And I do the Madden, simulations every year because it is a simulation style sports game. But I'll be honest with you. I think we would all take the playoffs. We would not want Jimmy Garoppolo playing. We'd hope Matthew Stafford wouldn't get banged up and Kyren Williams. I think we'd take sweeping the 49ers. I think I would definitely do that. Although I might give up one of those 49ers wins to beat the Lions week 1 because I think it is so important, 1, to get revenge, but 2, it's so important to get that run right off the rip. You don't want to lose week 1. Okay. So the Packers game 28-24, that felt very realistic. Looked at the box score on that one. It was a shootout between Stafford and Love. They both threw over 300 yards. So that's something I see. Patriots game, I could totally see them blowing out the Patriots. The Eagles loss, I actually think they're going to win that game. But I thought, 24-18, that's fair. The Saints one was ridiculous. What do the Saints have that makes you think that they're going to beat the Rams this year? I don't know. I mean, then again, it's football. Anything can happen. They beat the Bills. I was a little surprised by that. Beat the Jets, close game. Really, when they beat the 49ers twice, I was really surprised. I think the biggest laugh about all of this that I got had nothing to do with the Rams. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with, Puka Nacua getting 800 yards. Didn't get hurt, just had 800 yards. I don't see that. There were some other things, but actually the beginning of the season, before Tyler Higbee came off IR in week 5, the league leader, not the leader in team yardage, the league leader was Colby Parkinson. Okay, he was the league leading receiver. And then week 5 came along and I moved Tyler Higbee into the starting role and, are back on the roster, and Parkinson barely did anything the rest of the year. So, I mean, that's a little ridiculous. Blake Corum didn't see as many, carries as I thought he would. They totally pushed Kyren Williams out the door because I had Kyren Williams as the punt return to make it authentic. They pushed him out the door. It was Ronnie Rivers who got all the punt returns and kick returns and all of that. So that was annoying. Just like the auto change and everything, I wish they would just not have that. But the injuries were very limited until, of course, it mattered the most. And the biggest laugh factor of this, in my opinion, was the Cowboys. The fact that the Cowboys would get the 1 seed and beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I don't see it. Ezekiel Elliott finishing with 1,400 yards rushing, 5.2 yards per carry average. Some of this stuff is just like, all right, only in a video game, right? So, yeah, this isn't the Cowboys from 5 years ago. This is the Cowboys now. I just thought it was a little funny. And the 49er game, looked back at it, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't turn the ball over, threw 3 touchdowns in that game, the 35-27 ball game. I mean, he played pretty well in the, simulated game, but it looked like there was a fumble at the end of the game by Blake Corum that might have cost the Rams. Hard to say for sure just looking at the box score, but that's kind of what I took away. So, yeah, what do you guys think? How accurate is this? How accurate do you hope this isn't? And just let me know in the comments section below. That's going to do it. Guys, of course, be sure to check out our sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win. And, of course, you can use promo code JKBogan to get that, the link is going to be in the description and the comment section below. But I will see you guys in the next video. You guys take care and see you soon. Later, folks. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.